Once upon a time, I was signed to a record label called Asthmatic Kitty. I put out, I don't know, 4 or 5 records with them. And the label was run in part by a guy named Sufjan Stevens, who did this great States project and then didn't. Sufjan and I don't want to overstate the closeness of our friendship. I never got invited over for dinner. But then again, he lived in Brooklyn and I live in Long Beach. But we did work on some music together. And at some point in 2008, I sent him an email and I said, hey, listen, one of my favorite actors, the great Elliott Gould, is having a film career retrospective at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. And if you can go see any of these movies, you should. And Sufjan wrote back and he said, what movie should I see? And I said, well, The Long Goodbye or Little Murders. And then Sufjan said, okay, if I see him, because Elliott was going to be there in attendance, do you have any questions? Anything that you want to know, anything I could ask him? In 2008, I was a truck driver. I was driving an Isuzu cab over all around Southern California. And those trucks had cassette decks in them. And I would stop at thrift stores all the time and pick up audiobooks that I could listen to. I don't remember when I started that job, but it was pre-iPod. Like I had my first iPod when I was working there, and I would supplement things with like old books on tape. Elliott Gould read all of the Raymond Chandler bibliography, and I found almost all those tapes. So I used to listen to that stuff all the time. And I asked Sufjan to ask Elliott Gould about his love affair with Raymond Chandler because he also portrayed Philip Marlowe in The Long Goodbye by Robert Altman. I felt like that was a necessary thing to explain. This is a 12-year-old story. I've been waiting a long time to tell it. So I don't hear anything back. And then eventually I get a package in the mail. And I still have it. And this is the package here. And I covered up Sufjan's address because, there's creepers out there. And I ain't trying to do them like that. So he sent me this package in the mail. And here's another thing that was happening at the time. I'm reading all this Chandler stuff, but I was also reading a short story by Philip K. Dick called We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which was the basis for like Total Recall, and I think probably also influenced Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So in this package that Sufjan sends me, there's all kinds of stuff. He sends me like this little bookmark with Elliott Gould on it, a poster from The Long Goodbye, and he sends me this letter. And the letter says, oh, here, just in case, in case like you don't think I'm like telling the truth or some shit. The letter says, Chris, Elliott Gould is tall and still energetic. For 70 years, his Jufro is tamed with gray, but that is the sophistication of old age. He had the dignity to answer questions and sign autographs. Here, hold my beer while I sign. Yours says, Chris, Elliott Gould. Read between the lines. Okay, now here's the thing. He really did have Elliott Gould sign this ticket for me. And it says Chris, Elliott Gould. That was from the October 8th, 2008, 9:30 p.m. screening of Little Murders. Wild. Okay. The rest of the letter. I'm afraid I didn't ask your question about Chandler. I'm terrible at these things, but instead provoked someone nearby to pose it for me. Gould's personal connection to Chandler, quote, he's American and funny as hell. What more do you want? End quote. I may even be embellishing. The guy does not have a lot to say. I eavesdropped on an interview on NPR, meandering, chattering, mumbling. Well, that's not what he's famous for anyway. Small talk. Saw Little Murders, a hilarious, heartbreaking romp. I would have spent 10 hours with Patsy's family in that stuffy apartment. Little Murders, by the way, was directed by Alan Arkin after they couldn't get Jean-Luc Godard to agree to it. The monologues in this film should be memorized and recited in grade schools all across America with the Gettysburg Address and Psalm 23. Weird and wild, real and unreal, the realms of the unreal. Was good to see New York squalor in the 70s. Central Park was rotten. We live in a Disneyland playground now. I don't take that for granted. A great film. Thanks for your suggestion. Wish you could have been here in person. To sustain the mirage, I've included popcorn, BAM paraphernalia, and the signed ticket. You were there. You were there. I saw you. Sufjan. So this is the other thing. He sent this bag of popcorn. There actually still is popcorn. I mean, this popcorn is 12 years old. Okay. I don't know why. I just never, I don't know, man. I just never threw it away. So I'll take a bite here of this 12-year-old popcorn. That tastes terrible. Wow. I don't suggest doing that, and I'm going to wash it down with some Del Taco coffee. Woof. Ugh. Here's the interesting thing. I was reading, We Can Remember It For You wholesale at the time. One of the elements of that story is that they implant memories into you, into your brain. And then to reinforce those memories, they put little tokens and tchotchkes around your house. So like if you were like a police Starfleet commander or something, they put like your badge or your graduation photo, or you know what I mean? They would put all this stuff around to like support the memory. The craziest thing to me was that there was this wild convergence of all this stuff. And I had just read that Philip K. Dick story, and there's just no way. I didn't talk to anybody about it. I was just listening to it out driving, around in the truck. There's no way anyone could have known. But essentially, Sufjan sent me this letter and all of these things, and then at the end of the letter is saying, you were there, exactly like what happened in the Philip K. Dick novel.